guys, so today we're going to be installing gktech rack spacers. Basically, we're not just installing standard slip-ons and we're not installing the offset spacers. What we're installing are they're the rack spacers that move the rack end mounting point forward to stop over centering or bind when you get modified knuckles and extended lower control arms. It stops the over centering at full lock where you get bind, and it makes it harder to steer the car. So mainly this counteracts that and makes it so it steers somewhat well again. At the end of the day, you're going to have modified knuckles, so it's not going to be it's not going to steer like a factory car, but it stops over centering, and that's what these parts do. So we're going to be installing those for you today. What we're installing them on is an S13. It's a coupe. It's got an SR20 in it, T28 turbo, all that sort of shit, standard sort of mods. So yeah, follow along and we'll show you how to install them. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is remove the wheel. On ours, it's 4 19mm nuts, and just slide the wheel off. Obviously make sure you jack the car and use jack stands. Don't just use a jack. The jack can fall, it can fail, and you don't want to be under the car when that happens. So the first thing you want to do is take the wheel off. Alright, so the tools you're going to need for this job are, this isn't a tool, but you're going to need this. It's the rack spacer. The right hand side is the shorter side. You'll have to recenter the rack afterwards. It's a bit hard to show you how to do that, so your best bet's looking up on a forum on how to do it.
Could be explained in another video if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you really want us to let us know how to do that, leave a comment and I'll show you how to center a rack another day. You're going to need some snips to undo the cable ties. They're either going to be plastic or metal on the steering rack boot. A 17mm on a ratchet to undo the tie rod from the knuckle, and a shifter to undo the rack end from the steering rack. The first thing you want to do is crack the nut loose on the knuckle. It's where the tie rod attaches to the steering knuckle itself. What you're going to want to do is just leave that finger tight and just undo it about that much. Because that way, when you hit this to get the tie rod out of the knuckle, you can't slip and fuck the threads up with the hammer. But you want to leave that in there, and you want to crack the nut loose. Basically that locks up the adjustment for when you're adjusting the alignment. That nut keeps that set alignment in place and doesn't let the tie rod spin on the rack end. Once you've cracked all that loose, undo the nut, and usually
you need to smack it with the hammer.
Yeah, usually you need to smack it with a hammer right here, but because this car has been apart a bunch of times, it's loose.
And you unscrew the...
Yeah, unscrew it, and remember to count how many threads it comes off.
We're going to do an alignment anyway, so it doesn't matter as much.
If you're not putting the spacers in, if you're just replacing these, count, but once you're putting the spacers in, you really have to do a kind of home job alignment to get it to the alignment shop anyway, so it doesn't really matter so much in this case. But if you're doing it at home, if you're just replacing a rack end, or if you're just replacing a tie rod because yours is broken, then yeah.
Or if you bent it.
Yeah, if you bent a rack end because you're over centering. Yeah, well then, if you're just replacing that,
you want to cut the cable ties off the steering rack boots. Oh, they got nipples on them. I didn't know that. Boot.
Once you've got to this stage, you're going to want to grab the shifter and crack the rack end loose. Basically, you'll see that right there.
Right here.
That's the rack end. There'll be flat spots on it where you can crack it loose with a shifter.
Usually tight as fuck.
Yeah, they're usually pretty tight. Usually you've got to get up inside the wheel arch and
use your foot.
Yeah.
Unless you're a huge fan.
Thanks, Tori. Alright. The next thing you want to do,
Here's where the fun comes.
for us,
We found it easier to
we found it easier to put
had
the
rack spaces already.
if it's got rack spaces, remove them because they're not needed with these.
Because they're already built into the rack spaces in these offset ones.
Basically, we found it easier to screw the rack end into the spacer.
Before you put it on.
Yeah, before we installed the spacer to the steering rack.
Just do it up as tight as you can by hand.
And then,
Oops.
and then once it's on the rack, that means you'll be able to get a
Firm grip on it.
Yep.
Goes that way. These haven't been notched enough.
What do you mean? Why notched enough?
Oh no, I just had them the wrong way, I think. That's on there.
Wrong way?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. See how they go on that way, and then you flip them over.
Yes, they don't sit perfectly straight.
What do you mean?
Oh,
They don't actually go in.
why?
Yes, they do.
Here, move this.
Huh?
Tilt that. Basically, when you go to centre the rack, you're better off getting a proper shop that does drift alignments to do all it, to centre the rack and do your alignment, because they know what you're meant to do. Like, they've done it hundreds of times before, and it's just better off them centering it and making sure that it's actually centered and not off.
Now, this isn't the right size.
Yeah, for the Allen key part where it screws in there, it's either a 14 or a 16, but we only have a 12mm.
So we're just going to do it up as tight as it go before it starts slipping.
Yeah, and then we're
When I go to work tomorrow, I'll get a bigger.
bigger Allen key set so we can actually tighten them up properly. But yeah, it's either a 14 or a 16mm, so make sure you got that Allen key, because that's another tool you're going to need.
So, can only go so tight before it starts slipping.
We just held it in there on an angle, like you just saw, and we were able to tighten it up enough.
Just enough, so there's no play in it. But
Yeah.
I'll go to work tomorrow and grab a 14 or a 16, and then we'll come home and we'll do it up properly.
Now you're going to want to grab a shifter and tighten up the rack end. We're not 100% sure what size that is. It may be a 21 or it may be a 24 or a 23 even, but you're better off getting a spanner that fits it because a shifter might be too thick.
Again, I'm going to get the proper tool tomorrow at work, but for now, this is just going to have to make do. That's tight as we're going to go. So when you've got that tightened up properly,
You can slip the boot on over it.
and with the boot, you're going to have to stretch it over the spacer because it's not a factory option.
Yeah.
And
The boot is, let's just say the boot isn't made to fit over a rack spacer.
But
So-
it does with a bit of...
Yeah, if
So
you're
see
lucky,
here, I'll
if
just-
you're lucky, it will reach the rack. But in my friend's case, the boots he had were a harder
And you
plastic.
push it right up as far as this will go. And then, in my case, they fit.
Yeah, he's able to stretch it to the steering rack and put new zip ties on it. But
It's
in my friend's case with an R33,
His were a harder plastic and he wasn't able to stretch them all the way to the rack. So what he did was he just put them over the rack end and spacer and put zip ties on either end, so it protected the rack
right
end.
there, we've got it to fit. It's not going to stay there. I'll give it a little push and it's going to pop off. But tomorrow I'll put some cable ties on it once we've done up all the spaces properly.
You're better off using metal cable ties if you can get them. If not, plastic ones will do. There's no reason you can't. But the metal ones will last longer. They're not going to deteriorate and they're a bit stronger. So yeah, once you've done that up,
Yeah, fuck it, they can stay there.